He wants the United States to go to war with Iran and destroy Iran. That's what he wants. Or he wants at least the assurance that the United States will back him up if he tries it. And again, this is, we're into the realm of delusional thinking, where they don't really understand. Nobody in the United States leadership or in Israeli leadership understands the kind of cost that would be forced upon their own countries if they try to engage Iran in this way. Iran's not going to be alone. Iran's already basically got de facto military alliance with Russia and China. And Russia and China are not going to stand by and let the West just attack Iran, particularly when Iran's not doing anything to them. It's Israel that's killing the vast majority of people, not Iran, not Hezbollah, not Hamas. It's Israel. It's Israel murdering civilians en masse, not Hamas, not Hezbollah.
Is the danger of having a nuclear war is there in that region if something happens?
Very high. I know that Doug McGregor is quite worried that Israel, recognizing it's got such limited military might right now, would use tactical nukes in southern Lebanon as a way to destroy Hezbollah positions. And the thing most people don't understand is those tactical nukes would be 3 to 4 times the size of what was used against Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's big, we're talking something big. And if that happens, Pakistan has vowed, has promised to Turkey that it would provide it with nuclear weapons. Turkey may very well feel compelled to go after Israel with nukes. I mean, this thing can really get out of hand quick. And we don't have any kind of adults making decisions either in the United States or in Europe.
Can we say undoubtedly Iran doesn't have nuclear bombs?
I doubt it, but they could, it really shouldn't take them.
That would be huge if something happens in that scale. It's unbelievable.
Well, they have to have a nuclear device. They've got the missiles that can carry a nuclear device. They certainly have the scientific and engineering expertise to produce nuclear weapons. But up to this point, there's been sort of prohibited under Islam, that it is considered as the term haram, that it's considered something that's not in accordance with the laws and teachings of Allah. So they may not have developed it, but if confronted with this kind of threat, they very well could turn to it.
And how do you find right now Bashar al-Assad is in Moscow talking with Putin, and Erdogan gonna be there, and they would talk about their differences. On the other hand, China, as you mentioned before, is bringing these groups together, these Palestinian groups. At the same time, you see what's going on in the United States, all about war, and in that region, all about peace and making agreements. The picture is so vivid, Larry.
The United States has lost its prestige, its status as a world leader. We're a world bully now. I likened it to, the United States has gone from being this charming suitor, somebody who'll trying to woo a young lady out on a date, bring her flowers and boxes of candy and take her to dinner and to the theater and a good time. We've gone from that to being a guy who basically is breaking into houses and raping women. The United States has become the equivalent of an international rapist. We either start a war with some country, try to subvert it through the CIA, or bully it with economic sanctions. Rarely are you seeing the United States out there holding out a carrot, trying to work, trying to, win what they call hearts and minds. Instead, the United States is being viewed around the world as a bully, and as such, losing its ability to influence people and make decisions. which is one of the reasons you saw that Thailand, who has a long time been considered an ally of the United States, turns to the BRICS company and say, hey, China, Russia, we want to join BRICS. Okay, y'all come.
When it comes to Netanyahu and his attitude right now, do you think, you said that, you mentioned that he wanted to attack Lebanon, the southern part of Lebanon, but how about Iran? Is he willing to attack Iran as well? Is he going to get any sort of permission from the US government?
Okay, how did they attack Iran? That's what I want to know. I mean, they have carried out and encouraged assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. I believe Israel is directly involved with that. But as far as a conventional military attack, Israel could launch some ballistic missiles. Israel could possibly launch a ballistic missile with a nuclear device on it. But they don't have enough nuclear devices to destroy Iran. And if they did that, it would not take Iran long to necessarily develop a nuclear device to retaliate with. Particularly since so many of the nuclear sites are buried underground in what they called hardened, deeply buried facilities and mountains, etc. So, Israel, there's nothing Israel can do from conventional military attacks or even nuclear attacks that would keep it safe and guarantee that Iran would not strike back. But Iran's got other options. I'm sure that they're going to provide more arms to the Houthis so that the Houthis can launch more strikes in Israel. And, Iran is already in talks with Turkey to try to set aside their differences. And Turkey's in talks with Syria to set aside their differences. And all that's being facilitated by Russia and China. So this is, we're seeing Russia and China exercise some adult leadership in the region. And I wouldn't be surprised that one of the topics that Bashar al-Assad and Putin talked about was getting rid of U.S. forces that are currently occupying western or eastern Syria. It's a violation of their sovereignty and it's a violation of international law. U.S. should not be there.
In the Congress, Kamala Harris wasn't present, and right after that met with Netanyahu. Do you understand what's the reason behind this kind of behavior on her part?
She's trying to piss off everybody. So, on the one hand, by not going to the speech, she's angering all the Jews who are strong supporters of Israel. But then afterwards, when she meets with Netanyahu, she supposedly reads him a riot act, and then comes out and, trashes him in public. Well, then that pisses off those Jewish Americans who were pro-Israel. So, she's not making anybody happy because whatever goodwill she bought among the Palestinian and those who support the Palestinian cause by not going to the speech, she lost it in terms of her, meeting with Netanyahu. So, she's trying to have it both ways, and you can't have it both ways.
And after all, how did you find the outcome of this visit of Netanyahu to the United States?
I think it was sickening and disgusting myself. The display he put on in Congress, and the only thing that matched the sickening, disgusting display was how the Republicans, by and large, responded, as long as some of the Democrats. The wild applause for just, immoral policy and lies, lie after lie after lie, and wildly applauded as truth. Like the the babies were beheaded and burned alive and incinerated in ovens. The only babies killed that day were killed by Israeli military, not by Hamas. But nobody. Again, this wasn't about dealing with facts. This was about trying to come up with an emotional footage that can be used to justify going to war with Hezbollah and ultimately Iran. That's what they're hoping to do. Part of me says, go for it, guys, because the sooner they do it, the sooner they lose, and the sooner this whole, conflict's going to come to an end.
J.D. Vance wasn't present as well. And how do you find his policy toward Netanyahu? Why he didn't go there?
I don't know. You could argue that he was out on the campaign trail without making it a direct attack. I don't see the Trump campaign doing anything to necessarily distance itself from Netanyahu. If you saw Trump, he supposedly was pissed off at Netanyahu, didn't want to, was angry with it. Oh, Trump couldn't have been more gracious and, well, Bibi, my buddy, come on in, gives the wife a kiss on his cheek. It's just like, old home week, and they're shaking hands and smiling for the camera. Maybe in private, Trump told him, you need to find a negotiated way out of this, because we're not going to be able to support you all the way. Yeah, I'd hope that's what he said, but I doubt it. I think Trump probably was all on board with Bibi's. Yeah, you got to end this threat. You're going to have to kill some of them, and if we get elected, we'll back you up.
I think part of this whole thing that Netanyahu was trying to do in the United States, just to convince Israelis that he's so popular in the United States, that's what they have to get behind him and support him.
Mission accomplished. Bibi's probably right now more popular and has stronger standing in Israel than ever before. Think about that, with all the debacles that have characterized his government.
But how about, Larry, do you think that with what China is doing and what Russia is doing, do you think that, as you mentioned about Donald Trump just talking with Netanyahu about this conflict in Gaza, do you think that Trump has some sort of tendency toward any sort of agreement because these superpowers can communicate with each other?
Yeah.
And how
well,
that
they should communicate with each other, but they don't necessarily always do.
How would that benefit the situation of Gaza?
Well, the control over what happens in Gaza hinges upon if the U.S. keeps aid flowing to Israel. Period. The United States has enormous leverage over Israel, both through the economic and military aid it provides. So if that's cut off, suspended, halted, interdicted, then it can put Israel in a position where they're going to have to pay attention to Washington. So far, they've gotten everything they want and need, except manpower. And the United States isn't about to invest manpower into Israel and Gaza and the West Bank. But, I think, Netanyahu, he was able to show that he's got at least the firm support of the Republicans and enough Democrats on the Senate side that Israel's aid pipeline is open and secure. That's what he had to deliver. I think he did.
And Netanyahu, when he was talking to Congress, he said that the United States, Israel, and our Arab friends. Who are these Arab friends? He's talking about Jordan and Egypt. Or he's talking about Saudi Arabia and UAE as well?
Jordan, Egypt at a minimum, maybe Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, yeah, and Qatar.
But does he really think that if something happens between Israel and Iran, they would help Israel? Because we know that MBN, Mohammed bin Salman, is not willing to have any sort of conflict right now. They're not the conflict and war is totally against his purpose, his goal for Saudi Arabia. That's why I do think that he's not willing to have any sort of conflict with Iran.
Yeah, maybe. That's one of the reasons a motivated factor for Saudi Arabia's willingness to accept China's intervention to bring the Saudis together with Iran is at least help settle one source of conflict in the region anyway. not fully, but because the Saudis are still going at it with the Houthis, and that's still a bit of a proxy fight because of Iran's support for the Houthis.
And how about Turkey? Is Turkey gonna be helping Israel, or
Oh, no. Helping Israel do what? Kill more Palestinians?
no, against Iran?
Yes, same. They're not going to back Israel in an attack on Iran at all. If anything, they would be more likely to come to Iran's assistance. So yeah, it'd be very foolish of Israel to launch an attack on Iran, particularly when unprovoked. Now Israel claims, oh, they provide support to Hamas and Hezbollah. Well, they're